Matthew chapter 5. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice, and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Ye have heard that it was said of them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled with thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whiles thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. It hath been said, Whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. Again ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, Thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more of these cometh of evil. Ye have heard that it hath been said, An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So Matthew chapter 5 is when the Beatitudes begin, and it's such a great part of the Bible. It's one of the rare instances, right? Because one of the many things that Jesus did was go around preaching in the synagogues, and we actually get to hear and read one of the preachings of Jesus. So they really stand out. There's a lot of red text in these chapters of the Bible. So anything where Jesus Christ himself is speaking is always going to be a high point of the Bible. And I guess I'll just start out by pointing out this is something I've said before. I actually have almost an hour's worth of video going over the Beatitudes, so I'll make sure to post that link in the description. And this video, it's going to be short. These daily videos aren't meant to be long videos, so go watch those if you want to hear a more thorough, in-depth explanation of what I think about the Beatitudes. But something I always point out is I think most people get the first line to the Beatitudes wrong. I think that they interpret it incorrectly. When Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," I believe most people are reading it like, "Blessed are the poor, ... in spirit." And so they think that Jesus is saying that poor people are blessed, but I think that poor in spirit is the thing that is blessed. People who are poor in spirit is who Jesus is talking about here. And in the other video, I'm sure I talk more about it, but I just think, to me, somebody who's poor in spirit is somebody who's not like spiritually. So the opposite. For me, it's easier to know what rich in spirit is, and that's like the phony Pharisees who try to put it off like they're the most spiritually advanced people. And I mean, today you see the same thing. People that just walk around like they know everything when it comes to the spiritual, and that their relationship with God is the best. That to me is just rich in spirit, just oozing in over-the-top spiritualism that is phony at the end of the day. And poor in spirit, I think, would just be people who are more humble about that kind of thing. And I think that there's some clues that's what Jesus is saying, that Jesus isn't just saying that poor people are blessed in spirit, because it just doesn't fit the format of the rest of the blessings that are going on. What I mean by that, so just for example, the other examples, like blessed are the meek. Jesus doesn't say something like blessed are the meek in something. Jesus is giving out various listings of these people are blessed, these people are blessed. It doesn't say blessed are the meek in something. It just says blessed are the meek. So in the same way, I think that when Jesus says blessed are the poor in spirit, that the whole phrase poor in spirit is talking about a specific type of person. Jesus isn't saying, in my opinion, that poor people are blessed in spirit. Hopefully that made sense. Go watch my videos in the description if you're still confused on what I'm talking about there, but I think it's something that most people don't interpret that correctly. And another thing that I think kind of gets lost in modern translation is just how shocking all of these statements are. To me, what really stands out for the Beatitudes is how each statement that Jesus is making should be shocking because of the way that people behaved back then. And honestly, this stuff is just as applicable today. And so just for example, something that I always like to point out to remind myself of the times that they were in. If you were rich back then, there used to be this thought process that rich people were loved by God and that God didn't like poor people, because if God loved you, he was going to make your life, he's going to give you things. That was just a way that people used to think back then, and that a lot of people still think today. Especially Mormons act like that. Like they're so amazing because how rich they are. And so the Beatitudes actually was taking a lot of, basically Jesus was coming at it with like the opposite angle. He was flipping the conventions, the common thought of the time, upside down in the Beatitudes, and saying that actually it's the people that are suffering greatly here right now that are blessed, whereas common thought is the opposite. Some other takeaways from this. This chapter introduces salt of the earth. Actually, I mean, I don't know if this is the first introduction of it, but Jesus talks about salt of the earth, which is a great symbol, and not one that I completely understand, but real humans give flavor, and it's not always that. So what I think of when I think of salt of the earth and salt that has lost its flavor and all that stuff is sometimes when you stand up for the truth and when you're a real follower of Jesus, you're going to come at elbows with other people and you're going to cause a stir sometimes. And people might... So what this makes me think of is how somewhat recently internet culture stuff, and it probably is bigger than internet culture too, but calling people salty as like a negative thing. And sometimes you have to be salty, and being salty isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing to just go along with what everybody's doing, and especially when it comes to spiritual things. And there's a broad way to destruction and a straight and narrow way to salvation, and a lot of times when you're sticking on the straight and narrow path, people are going to come at you and say that you're being salty. Another big symbol, light of the world. And another big thing in this chapter, Jesus talks about not coming to destroy the law. And that's something that a lot of people like push for modern day kind of like Hebrew revival stuff, which I don't support at all. I mean, just look at the way that Jesus talked about the people back then who thought that they were the most pious. So I don't understand why people want a revival of that type of thing. But people obviously would support, people who are into the Hebrew revival stuff come at it from that angle of, well, Jesus didn't come to destroy the law. And just what I would have to say about that is, well, the phonies back then, like, there is God's law, and God's law has never changed. It's just that the Jews from back then made up all their own stuff, and I don't think that it's God's law that you can't eat pork and that you're not allowed to mix dairy, and there's made up phony stuff from humans trying to act more pious than others, and then there's God's law, God's real law. And so I think that's what Jesus is talking about there. Because in other places Jesus says it doesn't matter what you eat. It matters what comes out of your mouth. So I don't think Jesus supports like going back to kosher law. I wouldn't call kosher law at all. I just think it's made up rules that maybe some of them had good intentions, but mostly people just use these made up things from man to show how much better they are than other people by following more made up rules. Just a few more things from this chapter. This is where Jesus tells us to be better than the scribes and the Pharisees. And I guess this will be worth pointing out. So this is how it came about. I was looking up pronunciation on how to pronounce Sadducees. Still not sure if that's the right one, but it was funny because the YouTube video I was watching showing the pronunciation, it showed this like 501c3 pastor, and the little clip it showed, he was talking about how, oh man, I don't know, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, it seems like they get kind of a bad rep. Maybe they weren't that bad after all. And that was the only part of the clip I got to see, but it was just hilarious because I'm not surprised some modern day pastor was saying something so ridiculous. And anyways, that's a one-off story. We're supposed to be better than the phonies, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees are not people to look up to. So I just thought that was hilarious that there was some modern day pastor saying that they weren't as bad as they came off, because they absolutely were as bad as they came off. And other things that are of note in this chapter, just that I think of a lot, the warning, Jesus gives a warning, the most harsh warning, which to me seems, it's something that takes me aback. Wow, okay. Why is the worst thing calling somebody a fool? So just the verse that gives the different warnings against, if you have troubles with your brother, you should go deal with those first and get over it. And then it just goes on to say the whole Raka thing, which is interesting. But then the one that dangers you of hellfire is saying, thou fool. It just seems like it's just one of those things like, wow, that escalated quickly. Saying thou fool to somebody puts you in danger of hellfire. That's just something I think about a lot. And it makes me think of how, do you know how when you try to spread flat earth knowledge or any truth really, just there's 100 people willing to come out of the woodworks and tell you how stupid you are. And that's just what made the whole thou fool thing make sense to me. It's like, oh, if you're ever out in the wild trying to speak truth to people, there's going to be tons of people coming and telling you how foolish you are. And that's why we're not supposed to be like those people. Lastly, what else? Oh, this is just such so much interesting stuff in this chapter. The whole taking out your right eye or your right hand if it offends thee, that gets brought up so much. There's satanic rituals out there. There are so many people out there that are missing one of their eyes. They disable their right eye surgically. They go into doctors. They make up a psyop. I guarantee to you that many of you watching this video will know people that have a wonky right eye, and they'll have either some made up fantastical tale about it. I mean, you make up a tale about it and then go get the eye ritual, or else you just don't say anything about it and you just run into objects all the time. That's like my dad. My dad has a messed up eye, but he doesn't talk about it, and because they still have the eye there, you can just tell that one of their eyes is weird and looks blind. But I know that my dad runs into stuff all the time, like his peripherals, or not peripheral, binocular vision is probably not good. You probably can't see depth very well. And anyways, Satanists know the Bible forward and backward, and Satanists, they take their rituals from the Bible, and one of the rituals is they poke a needle in one of their eyes. And this has been going on a long time. Go look through historical photos and you see people with whacked out eyes all the time. One of their eyes will be blinded. And I guess it's just worth pointing out, FTM surgeries these days, they take out a huge chunk of their right arm or left arm. Most of them, I guess, do their left arm, but some are crazy. Some of them, even though they're right-handed, they still mutilate their right hand. But I guess I just thought I would bring that up because the trans connection, that one of the trans surgeries out there completely destroys one of their arms. Other things of mention in this chapter, Jesus advocates for clear communication and of not giving any oaths. You're not supposed to give oaths. You're not supposed to swear on anything. Just let your word stand for itself, and no funny business with the way that you explain things. And that's why I think Jesus says, let your yes be yes, let your no be no, and anything else of that comes of evil. It's because one of the things that people do is they subtly choose their words. Have you noticed just how obvious this is for certain people? There's certain people out there where they make it so obvious because instead of just saying yes or instead of just saying no, they give some sort of politician answer where if you really carefully listen to the words that they're using, it's ambiguous, or they leave themselves a little out. Well, I didn't actually say that. What I said was, you see that so often. And it's because they're not just saying yes, they're not just saying no. So that's where that comes from. Oh, this is a flat earth chapter in the Bible. Jesus Christ himself refers to the earth as God's footstool. And I've never seen a spherical footstool in my life. Turn the other cheek. Agree with adversaries when you're in the way with them. I think that's just something, even your enemy, you should be able to find some sort of common ground somewhere. And that doesn't mean that you have to lie. It just means we're not supposed to, I mean, you know the videos out there of the people causing a whole scene over a mask. Like, so I've been kicked out of places for not wearing a mask before, and I didn't make a scene. It was just, that was the end. I just said, no, I don't do that. And then well, I can't serve you. And then, okay, bye. We're not supposed to be the kind of people that freak out about stuff and cause a huge scene. And then this is where it says that you might even end up in jail if you do this kind of thing. When you're actually in the way and surrounded with your adversaries, it's in your best interest to find a common ground and to go ahead and find a way to agree with part of what they're saying is going to be a better thing for you than just causing chaos and making an example of yourself and getting thrown in prison. Turning the other cheek can be just it can be a better thing than freaking out. Just letting people kind of allowing yourself to be made an example. Have you noticed that where sometimes by just being the bigger person and not freaking out, and then there's a bunch of people spazzing out at you, it can cause a neutral party who arrives on the scene to see it in a much different light. So I think that this just comes up a lot of times with internet stuff, where if you're just talking about flat earth stuff in a very neutral way, in a very unemotional way, and you're just plainly talking about it, and if people come up and start attacking you and you don't react to them in a reactionary way, but you just kind of take it, when a third party comes in, and instead of seeing two people screaming at each other back and forth, they see one person being very reasonable and stating their opinions, and then them just being attacked for that mercilessly for no reason. It just paints a different person to an outside perspective. They'll eventually stop and go like, why are these people that are just being really nice, and even if I don't agree with what they're saying, they're just stating their opinion and they're being attacked for it. I think that's why turning another cheek can have surprising results. And it's because sometimes a third party will arrive on the scene and realize, why are people being so over the top abusive to this person? Can't they just, not be so extra when it comes to that? And because for me, it was a big part of waking up, was noticing how over the top people were with their reactions to people who were just stating their opinion. All right, that's it for this video. God bless everyone.